Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Uzmai Nabila. So today I'm going to be doing the introduction for case study at Indonesia. Indonesia is one of Southeast Asia country with the highest population. Their population is 280 million of people. They are ranked as the fourth country with the highest population around the world. The capital of Indonesia is Jakarta, which has population of 10.56 million of people. Additional fact, Indonesia are ranked as the 14th country with the largest area, which is 1,904,569 kilometers square. As for economy in Indonesia, they use mixed economy concept, which means the government and the private sector play a main role in handling their country's economy. Gross domestic product, or called as GDP. GDP is a total value market of final goods and services produced in each period of time by a factor of production located within the country. As for the goods and services from Indonesian citizens but outside of Indonesia doesn't count as GDP. However, if the foreign workers who works inside of Indonesia, it is count as Indonesia's GDP. And the estimated GDP of Indonesia in the year of 2023 was 1.392 trillion US dollar to 4.398 trillion US dollar. However, Indonesia has ended their GDP in the year of 2022 with 3.419 trillion US dollar. There are many industry sectors in Indonesia that help with their economic growth. The industry is manufacturing, agriculture, retail trade, mining, and construction. Manufacturing contribute about 18.34% of Indonesia's GDP, which made the sector of manufacturing become the main focus of Indonesian government to develop Indonesia, and they want to achieve to become the top 10 largest economy globally by 2030. Examples of product manufactured in Indonesia are garments, food and beverages, textiles, electronics, and automotive. For Indonesia government has invested for about 8.9 billion US dollar in manufacturing, and the employees of manufacturing has reached about 25 million workers. The second industry that contribute to GDP is retail trade. The percentage of retail trade that has contributed to the Indonesia's GDP is 12.85% in the end of 2022. The third industry that contributes to the GDP is agriculture, which is 12.4%. And the interesting fact, in agriculture in 2018, Indonesia has become one of the largest producers of palm oil, which is 115.2 million tons of palm oil has been produced by Indonesia. The third industry sector is mining, which had contributed about 12.22% to the GDP. In 2018, Indonesia was known as the world's largest producer of nickel and the second largest producer of cobalt. The fifth industry that contributes to the GDP is construction, which has contributed to 9.77%. Next is labor. Labor is defined as a number of workers that that use their physical and their mental to produce goods and services for an economy. Labor can be categorized with two types of labor. There are skilled labor. There are also semi-skilled labor. Skilled labor is a worker who just needs a training to excel their jobs. For an example is farm workers who contribute in agriculture in Indonesia. Meanwhile, for semi-skilled labor, they need some education and training. For an example is the labor from the manufacturing sector. In helping their country to develop more, the citizens should be able to contribute some of their energy and effort to make sure their country's economy is stable. As for the graph, Indonesia's labor force was increased from year 2021, which is 68.08% to 69.09% in the year of 2022. During the year of 2018 until 2022, the lowest percentage of labor is the year of 2020, which is 67.77%. Because during that year, all world has to face COVID-19 pandemic, which affect badly toward their economy. The highest percentage from those years, from the 2018 until 2023, is at year 2019, which is 69.32%. There are also other things that can affect a country's economy, which is export and import. Export is a product or services sold abroad. Meanwhile, import is bring goods or services from abroad to sell inside the country. Export and import are very important as it can affect the country's GDP, exchange rates, and the level of inflation and the interest rates. Inflation is defined as a persistent and sustained increase in the aggregate or average price level of goods and services in an economy. In other words, inflation is the price of items or goods increases over a period of time. One of the effects of inflation is there is a loss of the value of money that the consumer has, because the consumer can't buy many items like before. Indonesia has to face inflation as it is the most major issue happen on the country. There is a news article from CNBC newspaper which their central bank chief Mr. Periwarjio said that the inflation rates will remain 5% above in the first half of year 2023, then will decrease to 4% above in the second year of 2023. There is a way to measure inflation, which is by using Consumer Price Index or CPI data over months or years. The terms of CPI are called as the Cost of Living Index. CPI was used to measure the changes of average price of consumer goods and services. Expenditure items were categorized into 8 major groups, which is food and beverages, housing, apparel, transportation, medical care, recreation, education, and communication, and other goods and services. CPI formula is simple consumer price index, which is CPI equals to cost of CPI basket of current year price divided by cost of CPI basket at base year price times with the 100%. Next is the graph shows the inflation that happened in Indonesia from January 2023 until June 2023. The graph shows that the highest inflation was in February 2023, which is 5.47%. The pattern of the diagram shows the decrease in inflation. The lowest inflation happened from the graph was in June 2023, which is only 3.52% only. There are variety type of inflation can occur in a country. One type of inflation occur in Indonesia is demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation was defined as inflation that occurs when the aggregate demand, which is AD, exceeds the aggregate supply, which called as AS, which can cause the price of the product to increase. The high level of inflation is caused by overall low supply of commodities with a high demand from customers, as there are troubles occur worldwide because of pandemic COVID-19. The chain of supply has been disturbed which affecting in the inflation of Indonesia. One of the product the most demand is seasonal crop. However, the seasonal crop can face some problem because some of them the seasonal crop has failed to life, which made the product has to going to waste. Because of that, it shows that the supply has become lower, but the demand is higher, which make the seasonal crop price is increasing. The second inflation that occurs in Indonesia was cost push inflation. Imported cost push inflation occurs when domestic expenses increase as a result of growing import costs for resources or a decline in the nation's exchange rate. One of obvious products that makes this inflation occurs is cooking oil price, which has been increasing. This makes the household can be stressed because cooking oil is very important for each household.
Cause of inflation. The high level of inflation is caused by the overall low supply of commodities amid high demand. Due to global situation, the chain of supplies has been disturbed. Production problems occur domestically, including seasonal crop, failure of shallot and chilies. Due to relaxation of COVID-19 limits and decreased mobility, there is also a strong overall demand. If the mobility of the people is high, the demand for various goods and services will also be high. Ultimately, this will also result in a rise in product pricing. People's mobility is beginning to expand and credit growth is also beginning to pick up. Core inflation is consequently increasing. This can be seen through the core inflation rate in Indonesia, which includes seasonal commodities like food, has reached 2.86% year-on-year in July 2022. The higher price of important products makes local manufacturers have no choice but to increase their prices as well because important inflation is also a result of weak currency exchange. As the rupiah weakens, imports are costing more. Rupiah has experienced the rupiah breach the 15,000 mark against the US dollars. It weakens position in 2 years. High prices of important food and energy affect Indonesia even though the government has provided subsidies.
My name is Idina Nunsapia and I would like to explain about effect of inflation. The first one is weakened region of economy. High inflation rates create uncertainty in the economy, making it difficult for business to plan and make long-term investment decisions. When business are uncertain about future price levels, they may delay or reduce investment, which can hinder economic growth and job creation. This can lead to reduced production, lower profit, and also potential job loss. The next one is raising of borrowing rates for the nation relative. In response to rising inflation, the central bank, which is Bank Indonesia, may decide to raise interest rate. Higher interest rate make borrowing more expensive as banks pass the increased cost on to borrowers, and increase in inflation in Indonesia can lead to increase in loan rates for the country compared to the other countries. This could have implications for government borrowing and also private sector investment and economic growth.
Unemployment occurs when people whose ages are qualified to get a job but is unable to find a suitable job. The number of employed people who wants to join the workforce but is unable to get the job is called as unemployment. This situation can affect the economy of the country. Just like the other country, Indonesia has to face this situation. As for unemployed, there are new entrants, re-entrants, lost last job, quit last job, and laid off. They are categorized under economically active, which is defined as the workers is within the age of 15 to 64, excluding the housewife, the students, and people who have illness. There is a news that said that the current situation about unemployment in Indonesia. One of the news was published on 7 March of 2023 from Jakarta Globe website. The main heading of the article is over 8 million Indonesians, including many well-educated, remain unemployed. The unemployed statistic was taken from the National Statistic Agency called BPS. With this news article, it brings a worried face on everyone as they need to find the solution to decrease the rate of unemployment. For unemployment, there are formulas that can be used to measure the unemployed population in the workforce. The formula is unemployment rate equals to number of unemployed divided by labor force, which is economically active, times with 100%. As seen from the graph, it shows there are increasing unemployment occurs in Indonesia in the year of 2022. From December 2021 until May 2022, the unemployment rate shows it was 5.83%. Then from July 2022 until November 2022, the unemployment rate starts to increase to 5.86%. Graph shows there are some increase in unemployment happened in the year of 2021. As we can see, December 2020 until May 2021 shows that the unemployment rate was 6.26%. However, the rate of unemployment was increased to 6.49%. The unemployment occurred during pandemic of COVID-19 shows that the unemployment rate in the year of 2021 was higher than the unemployment rate in the year of 2020.
Type of unemployment. There are a lot of type of unemployment occurs in Indonesia. One of it is technological unemployment. This arises from labor-saving technique of production or new technology that the company buys, which make the worker needs a different skill. As for Indonesia, the technology of agriculture has become more modern, which make the farm worker that usually harvest by using tools needed to have a skill in controlling the robot. The worker that wasn't needed was fired, which make them become unemployed. Other unemployment occurs was frictional unemployment. Frictional unemployment refer to short-term unemployment, which makes the people who enter the labor market find a job, which they make them become unemployed for a while. One example for frictional to occurs is when the people from outside city who get a job in the city cannot find any housing to stay, mostly because there are people who has to live their life in poor economy, and not everyone is from a wealthy family.
Cause of unemployment in Indonesia. Bid was expected to bring in more money, and some new hires took a while to adjust. Employers want workers, not consumers. Employers require staff. When more people buy their products, good demand increase economic activity. GRDP will grow as the economy improves. GDP sector can recruit more workers if GDP rise next round. GRDP sector growth and labor absorption elasticity are related. Less unemployment means more elastic labor absorption. Pay determines how many employers a firm wants, which depend on the labor market. If there are many low-wage workers, a competitive market will not work. High pay attract more workers. In a market with imperfect competition and a huge worker supply, employer can fix salaries. Regardless of market competition, no workers will affect unemployment. People make money mostly from wage. Furthermore, salaries should be high enough to support worker and family needs while meeting minimum criteria.
The next one I will explain about the effect of employment in Indonesia, which is social stability. This social stability is the government effort to promote culture, diversity in Indonesia by acknowledging and respecting the diversity of its population that includes various tribes, language, religion and culture so that it is better known abroad and can attract attention from tourists. The next one is poverty reduction. The government has prioritized intensive economic growth as a way to reduce poverty. Policies have been implemented to encourage job creation, entrepreneurship, and investment sector in the potential to generate employment opportunities. And then the last one is economic growth, which is the government has prioritized infrastructure development as a means to support economic growth. This investment in transportation and telecommunication, also infrastructure, have improved connectivity, reduced logistic costs, and support the economy in various sectors.
Hi, my name is Rabiata Dovia, and I'm going to present about the Indonesia problem and how the country solved the problem. So, the first one is inflation. In order to preserve the rupiah and combat inflationary pressures, Bank Indonesia employs a contractionary monetary policy. Increases in fuel prices that were subsidies in 2013 made inflationary pressures worse and caused a sharp decrease. In order to enable a more active monetary policy in 2019, when the rupiah was steady, inflation was low, and the current account deficit was under control, Bank Islam progressively hiked the rate in 2020 to 7.75%. Next is unemployment. The first one is fiscal. So, Indonesia faces high unemployment rates among 15 to 25 years old, with many graduates requiring only primary school diplomas. To reduce unemployment, the central bank uses open market operation, or OMO, to boost investment and consumption while decreasing cyclical unemployment. OMO injection and absorption increase liquidity, while irregular OMOs remove extra liquidity. Fiscal policy. So Indonesia's government can reduce inflation by raising taxes and cutting government expenditure when demand increases due to private spending. This approach reduces disposable income and consumer spending, while simultaneously controlling inflation with a decrease in public spending. And the last one is the fiscal policy of unemployment. So, taxation and tax reduction are key strategies for lowering unemployment in Indonesia. Tax reduction boosts revenue, allowing for expansion and job creation. Additionally, the government can invest in infrastructure projects such as roads and train system to create jobs and promote economic growth. This program can help public sector employees secure employment in the private sector.
So, the conclusion is when overall demand is greater than overall supply, demand pull inflation results. Cost push inflation is delivered on by imports of oil and weak currencies. Price increase are a result of inflation. Uncertainty about inflation drives up borrowing cost, which hurts the economy. Bank is impacted by Indonesia unpredictable inflation rate. Estimates of Indonesia annual inflation. Food costs in Indonesia are affected by the weather, which impacts low-income families. The lack of infrastructure in Indonesia is expensive. The situation points to grow the inflation. Indonesian salaries are based on the labor market. Low pay doesn't function in a labor market that is in demand. Uncertain internet economy laws exist in Indonesia. The economy may benefit or suffer from digital technology. Employers seek employees, not customer. More sales equate to more employees. Wages are set by labor market that are competitive. Indonesian GDP per person declines because of unemployment. Consumption and self-esteem drop when someone is unemployed. The economy of Indians suffer. The economy of Indonesians suffer. So that's all from me about the conclusion. Thank you.